Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today is day 3 of the Sweet Winter Read series. I hope you're liking it so far. And today we're going to talk about the new and exciting releases in historical fiction that I'm personally really eager to read. So let's get into it. Book is Carnegie's Maid by Mary Benedict, and this is coming out on January 16th, and this takes place in 1860, and we follow an Irish maid named Clara Kelly. She becomes a maid for Andrew Carnegie, and he's this like big prominent businessman, and they fall in love. And then one day, Claire goes missing, and Andrew starts looking out for her and trying to find her, and it uncovers a ton of secrets. So that is Carnegie's Maid. The next book is Was Anastasia by Ariel Lawhone. Now this is coming out on March 20th, and this kind of flips back and forth in time. We follow one storyline in Russia, July 17th, 1918, and we essentially follow the Romanov family's demise. They were killed by firing squad, and they all died, or did they? And so it flips forward in time to Germany in February of 1920, and this young woman is pulled from the canal, and she looks an awful lot like Anastasia Romanov. You know, they take her to the hospital and she won't talk to anyone, but her body is like full of these terrible, terrible scars. And now there are all sorts of rumors going around that the youngest Romanov daughter actually did survive the massacre, essentially. And, you know, old enemies and threats start to kind of come up now for Anastasia. It sounds really fun. The next book is White Houses by Amy Bloom, and this is coming out on March 20th. This follows the friendship between a young female reporter named Lorena Hickok and Eleanor Roosevelt in 1932. And soon after they become friends, she actually moves into the White House with Eleanor Roosevelt, and she becomes known as the first friend. And that first friend actually develops into this love affair between Eleanor and Lorena. I had never even heard of Lorena. I don't know if this is a retelling or if it's based on any sort of truth. I have no idea, so I'm really eager for this one. Next we have Winter Sisters by Robin Oliveira, and this is coming out on February 27th. And it starts out in New York in 1879, and there is this enormous snowstorm that has swept New York, and we follow Dr. Mary Sutter, who is a former Civil War surgeon, and she is on the search for these two little girls. In the snowstorm, their parents were kind of just vanished without a trace. They imagined that they were killed, but they just vanished. And apparently when they find out what actually happened to these girls, the actuality and the facts pretty much tear apart all of these families. So I'm very interested in this one. And finally we have The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and this comes out on January 27th. And this is based on a true story of Lael and Gita Sokolov. And they're two Slovakian Jews who were in Auschwitz, survived Auschwitz, and lived to tell their tale, and they eventually made their permanent home in Australia. And I think this one kind of narrows in on Lael, and his job was to tattoo the numbers on his fellow inmates. And this was the way that he survived and stayed. Now, because of his position, he was able to move around the camp in a way that a lot of other Jews weren't able to. And he used that to his advantage. He would take the jewels from the Jewish people who had been murdered at Auschwitz, and he'd take their money and he would use that in order to help other people survive that war. And if people had, you know, found him out, like if the Nazis had discovered what he was doing, he'd most certainly been put to death. So he put his own life on the line to do this. And I just think it's fascinating that it's based on a true story. So those are all of the historical fiction books that I'm really excited to read. So tomorrow we are going to dive into books that are set at Christmas. So I'll see you then. Bye!